Proclamation of the Gospel of Jesus Christ according to John 15, verses 1 to 8. Glory to you, Lord. At that time Jesus said to his disciples, I am the true vine and my Father is the gardener. Every branch in me that bears no fruit he cuts off, and every branch that does bear fruit he prunes, so that it may be even more fruitful. You are already clean because of the word I have spoken to you. Remain in me, and I will remain in you. Just as a branch cannot bear fruit by itself unless it remains in the vine, so neither can you bear fruit unless you remain in me. I am the vine and you are the branches. Whoever remains in me and I in him will produce much fruit, because apart from me, you can do nothing. Whoever does not remain in me is thrown away like a branch and withers. Such branches are picked up, thrown into the fire and burned. If you remain in me and my words remain in you, ask what you wish, and it will be done for you. In this my Father is glorified, that you bear much fruit and become my disciples. The word of salvation. Glory to you, Lord. Welcome to our channel. We're glad to have you here for another special reflection on the gospel, thinking together about how the Word of God makes a difference in our lives today. Feel free to like, share this video, and don't forget to comment at the end about what touched your heart the most in this message. Before we delve into today's passage, John chapter 15, verses 1 to 8, it's worth understanding the special moment in which this all takes place. After the Last Supper, Jesus and the apostles gather in the upper room, a large, high chamber in a residential area of Jerusalem, known today as Mount Zion. Upper room. It was likely a house near the ancient city's walls in the southwest region of Jerusalem. Journey to Gethsemane. After John 14, Jesus invites the disciples, "Please let us go from here." John 14:31. They leave the upper room and cross the city towards the Garden of Gethsemane, located at the foot of the Mount of Olives, east of Jerusalem's walls. During this journey, they could see vineyards, murals with vines, or even bronze decorations on the temple itself. The Gospels of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John report that it was night. The Last Supper was likely celebrated at the beginning of the evening around 6 p.m., as per the Jewish custom on Passover, extending for several hours with conversations, teachings, and prayers. When Jesus and the disciples leave, it probably passes 8 p.m. and may approach midnight when they reach Gethsemane, as the account of the arrest happens late at night or in the early morning. Verse 1, I am the true vine and my Father is the gardener. Jesus begins this passage using an extremely familiar image for the Jewish people, the vine. In Israel, during the time of Jesus, it was common to see vast vineyards spread across the country, as grapes were one of the main crops and a source of livelihood for many families. Wine was present in daily life, both in celebrations and in religious rituals, serving as a symbol of joy and prosperity. In the culture of that people, the vine represented life, abundance, blessing, and God's care. In the Old Testament, Israel is often compared to a vine planted by God, a chosen people, lovingly cared for, from whom the Lord expected good fruits, that is, righteous attitudes, love, fidelity. However, the prophets themselves lament that this vine did not always correspond to its caretaker, often producing bad fruit, or, as Isaiah says, sour grapes. In light of this, Jesus does something surprising. He states, I am the true vine. This time, it is not just the people, but Jesus himself places himself as the genuine source of life and good fruits. This expression goes even deeper because in the Gospel of John, Jesus often says, I am, recalling the divine name revealed to Moses. By declaring himself the true vine, Jesus declares his divine identity and his mission to be the mediator between God and humanity. Moreover, Jesus presents God the Father as the gardener, the caretaker of the vineyard. The gardener is the one who prepares the land, plants each shoot, monitors its growth, prunes the branches when necessary, and waits with patience and attention for the time of harvest. This image reveals God's personal care for each of us. It is not a distant or generic care, but an active presence that accompanies each stage of our spiritual development. Verse 2, every branch in me that does not bear fruit, he cuts off, and every branch that does bear fruit, he prunes, so that it may bear more fruit. In this verse, Jesus deepens the metaphor of the vine and branches to explain how God works in the lives of those who are united with him. For the people of that time, this image was very easy to understand. In vineyards, the gardener would always observe each branch. Those that did not produce grapes were cut off, as they not only failed to contribute to the harvest, but also stole energy from the others. Conversely, the good branches, which already bore fruit, would undergo a pruning and cleaning process so they could produce even more. This pruning, despite seeming harsh, was a sign of care and expectation of growth. Here, Jesus reveals two actions of the Father. The branches that do not bear fruit represent those who are physically close to Jesus, perhaps participating in religious activities, but do not allow their lives to be transformed. The presence is only external. There is no true commitment, and therefore there are no fruits. Over time, they end up distancing themselves by their own choice, withering inside and ceasing to give meaning to their faith. As for the branches that bear fruit, diligent, consistent individuals who strive to live according to the gospel, they too undergo pruning. But in this case, pruning symbolizes the corrections, difficulties, trials, challenges, and changes that God makes us go through. It is not punishment, but a loving way to purify us, mature us, remove what hinders us, and allow us to grow even more. Many times the prunings are uncomfortable. They can be difficult situations, unexpected changes, losses, or invitations to abandon bad habits, thoughts, and attitudes. Verse 3, you are already clean because of the word I have spoken to you. At this point in the conversation, Jesus is speaking directly to his disciples during the Last Supper. He has just used the metaphor of the vine and branches to teach about the deep connection between him and those who follow him. Now, Jesus is ensuring the disciples that they are already clean. In agriculture, for a branch to bear good fruit, it needs to be clean. That is, dead leaves, unnecessary branches, and anything that might hinder its growth must be removed. Jesus, however, speaks of another type of cleansing, an inner spiritual cleansing. In the Old Testament, there was a habit of performing purification rituals, such as washing hands or bathing before praying or going to the temple, to show that the person was seeking God. Now, Jesus teaches that external rituals are not enough. The most important cleansing is the one that happens in the heart, caused by the Word of God. Christ's Word has the power to change thoughts, attitudes in the very hearts of people. It removes bad feelings, heals wounds, and motivates good actions. How often do we hear an inspiring word, read a passage from the gospel, and feel the desire to change, to forgive, to start anew? This is the cleansing effect of the Word of God. It illuminates what needs improvement in us. Therefore, Jesus' statement is not limited to the first disciples. It applies to every Christian. When we sincerely listen to Christ's teachings, we allow ourselves to be washed from within. We put aside resentment, selfishness, pride, and thus can produce fruits of life, love, and solidarity. Verse 4, remain in me as I also remain in you. No branch can bear fruit by itself without remaining in the vine, neither can you unless you remain in me. Remain means being constantly united, not just occasionally or out of interest. It is a continuous, intimate, and faithful relationship. Far more than hearing about Jesus, it is about having a true friendship with him, seeking his presence every day, trusting him, listening to him, and following his teachings. Jesus once again uses the image of the plant. The branch only has life if it is connected to the main trunk of the vine. When the branch is separated from the vine, it dries up, loses its sap, that is strength, energy, and cannot produce fruit. Similarly, we can only be better people, good, generous, and full of spiritual life if we are united with Jesus, receiving from him the sap of divine life. This shows that there is no point in appearing religiously at certain moments and then drifting away. It is not enough to perform isolated good deeds if the heart is not truly connected with Christ. Our faith is not something of moments, but of permanence, of consistency, a daily commitment. The strength to love, forgive, start anew, help others, and overcome difficulties is only full and true if it comes from intimacy with Jesus. Verse 5, I am the vine, you are the branches. Whoever remains in me and I in them will bear much fruit, for apart from me, you can do nothing. In this verse, Jesus makes absolutely clear the role of each. He is the vine, we are the branches. That is, our spiritual life only makes sense, only gains strength and direction if it is united with Christ, just as the branch needs the trunk to survive and produce fruit. Jesus reinforces the invitation from the previous verse. Whoever stays connected to him, keeping that personal relationship alive, produces much fruit. The fruit here is not literal grapes, of course, but everything that results from a life lived in faith, such as acts of love, patience, forgiveness, generosity, joy, and inner peace. In other words, the closer we are to Jesus, the more our way of living will reflect his qualities and transform the world around us. This part of the verse reveals a fundamental truth. On our own, without Christ, we cannot sustain a healthy and truly fruitful spiritual life. The phrase, apart from me, you can do nothing, shows our dependence. It does not mean we cannot accomplish tasks or have human achievements on our own. But in terms of eternity, of enduring goodness, of spiritual fruits that truly transform us and the world, it is only with the strength that comes from Christ. Verse 8, if anyone does not remain in me, they are thrown away like a branch and wither. Such branches are gathered, thrown into the fire, and burned. In this verse, Jesus continues using the metaphor of the vine and branches to explain what happens to those who drift away from him. He says that the branch that does not remain connected to the vine withers, is thrown away, gathered, and burned. In the reality of that time, farmers removed the cut and dry branches from the vine because they were no longer useful. They did not bear fruit, they couldn't be used for construction wood, and their destiny was indeed the fire. Spiritually, Jesus teaches that when we distance ourselves from him, that is, break the connection with the source of true love, faith, and hope, life begins to lose its meaning, its prayer, and the ability to produce fruits of goodness. Withering here symbolizes a hardened heart, a distancing from the values of the gospel, an inner emptiness that can even turn into suffering, anguish, or loneliness. When someone distances themselves from Christ, stops praying, stops listening to his word, distances themselves from the church, chooses selfishness, no longer seeks to live in love, they gradually begin withering inside. The fruits disappear, life loses its flavor, and hope fades away. The fire mentioned it represents the natural consequences of a life isolated from God, and is also a symbol of judgment, the definitive separation from all that God desires for us. But Jesus does not say this to frighten, but to warn. He does not want anyone to be lost and is always ready to welcome those who return to the vine to live once again in his presence and produce good fruits. Verse 7, if you remain in me and my words remain in you, ask whatever you wish and it will be done for you. In this verse, Jesus invites the disciples and all of us to remain in him. In this verse, Jesus invites the disciples and all of us to remain in him, that is, to maintain a deep, constant, and true union. But he adds something essential, also remaining in his word. This means allowing Jesus' teachings to shape how we think, feel, and act. It's not about memorizing phrases, but about living according to the gospel. Jesus then makes a bold promise. Ask whatever you wish, and it will be done for you. At first glance, it might seem like Jesus is saying that we can simply ask for anything, and he will grant it, like a genie in a lamp. But the meaning is deeper. When we remain in Jesus and let his word live in us, we learn to desire what pleases God. Our will becomes aligned with the divine will. Thus, our prayers cease to be merely self-interested and become requests aligned with the heart of Jesus. For example, asking for strength to forgive, courage to start anew, and wisdom to make decisions. The closer our communion with Christ is, the more our inner life is transformed. The desires of our heart change, and we begin to ask for what truly helps us grow, brings peace, and unites us with God and others. Verse 8, "My Father is glorified by this, that you bear much fruit and become my disciples." In this verse, Jesus reveals the ultimate goal of all effort, of the entire process of remaining in him and bearing fruit, to glorify the Father. To glorify means to magnify, to give honor, to show the world the greatness and goodness of God. That is, the more our lives produce fruits of goodness, justice, forgiveness, joy, peace, and love, the more our existence becomes a concrete reflection of the gospel. The more God is recognized and glorified in front of everyone. These fruits are not external blessings, but attitudes that transform our own lives and the lives of those around us, transforming environments, helping those in need, promoting reconciliation, spreading hope. It is living in a way that the world can perceive that there is something different, the presence of God at work through his disciples. Jesus concludes by saying that this process of bearing fruit is what makes us disciples. Being a disciple is not just about following rules or being part of a religion, but living, thinking, and acting as Jesus lived, thought, and acted. The true disciple is the one who lets life speak, who makes a concrete difference in the world, who is recognized for love, generosity, and the peace they transmit. What a wonderful promise! Did you see yourself in any of these verses? Did you feel God speaking to your heart through any special part of this vine metaphor? Tell us in the comments below, because I really want to know which word touched you the most today. Also, share this video with someone who needs to hear this message. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and activate the notification bell, because every week we're here to grow together in faith and love. Until the next video, stay with God.